All right, welcome in to Grow Your Know, presented by Kelly's Green. This is Clay Edwards, and I'll be hosting y'all today with Kelly Williams of Kelly's Green, and John Enders is her guest today. I'm going to pass the mic over here to Miss Kelly and her guest, John.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Happy Tuesday.
Good morning.
And welcome to Grow Your Know. I'm excited today for a number of reasons. Number one, once again, if you listen to the show at all, you know that I love the weather right now. So it's just easy to be happy and sort of carefree when the weather's nice here in Mississippi. But yeah, so I wanted to talk today about, first I wanted to start talking about our event. So when we were here last week, we talked about our event, the Job Fair and Work Permit Assistance event that was held at Kelly's Green on Saturday from 11 to 3. We had a great turnout. We actually had, I would say, more people than what we thought we would have. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest, is John Enders.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, John. So happy to have you here.
Thanks, Kelly.
So John works with us at Kelly's Green. He is our current post-harvest director, and we're exploring other things as well. And he is fantastic. He is a wealth of knowledge of cannabis, everything cannabis.
Far too kind. Far too kind.
So, welcome,
Thanks,
John.
Guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah,
for
absolutely, sure. Absolutely. And John got to be with us. He was at our event on Saturday. What'd you think, John? Do you think it was good?
It was a huge relief for me, especially in the post-harvest. You know, on the post-harvest side, we're hitting the ground running in the next 3 to 4 weeks, Kelly, as you know, and we needed a big staff to start off this post-harvest production.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit worried. I kind of had a feeling, especially with the rain clouds that came in that morning, that we would have maybe 10 people show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think our final count was closer to 60.
Yeah, it was.
Which was awesome, and I'm looking forward to doing more interviews with all those people that showed up last week.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great because for anybody that didn't know that we did the event or didn't know about it, so what we did was we did a job fair event, so where you could come in and because we're hiring. I think I preach that everywhere. We're hiring. And so people got to come in and fill out a job application for Kelly's Green. And then, which was really the sort of super special part about the event, was that we then helped you apply for your work permit. So to work in the cannabis industry in Mississippi, you have to have a work permit issued by the Department of Health. And that is what we have found has been the most difficult part about finding people, about finding employees. It's not lack of interest. There is a tremendous amount of interest by people to work in the cannabis industry.
I had a buddy of mine who just retired from a local municipality around here that I grew up with. Yeah. And I sent you the screenshot where he had texted and said, "Hey, glad you found out about it. I went and got my card and all that. And now that he's retired, he just retired this year, and he's my age. He ain't old,
right? Yeah,
you know, and looking to get a whole nother career going. And when he told me he was doing that, I was like, what a great fit. You know, I mean, it's just, he's a super intelligent dude. And this is a business that I think he's going to do really well in, regardless of which part of it he goes into.
Right, and there's so many aspects of it. There's so many, great positions. And we did have a few technical difficulties at times that we worked through. And I wanted to mention again. So once again, we're at the forefront because this was the first of this sort of event in Mississippi. Now, there's been a couple other job fairs that I know of. But to my knowledge, no one has done a job fair with a work permit assistance piece to it, or even just a work permit assistance piece. Like nobody has held an event that had people come in and apply for their work permits in real time, right then, uploading documents, registering on the portal, answering questions, it was good.
Fingerprinting, I mean, yeah, all of it all together. We kind of just knocked and cleared all the boxes for the staff that were interested.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, we did it all. We did fingerprinting. We had notary. We did it all. And so,
how many applications did you get?
Almost 60.
Oh, so everybody came one.
Everybody who
kill
came.
2 birds with one stone.
100%. Yeah,
That's
everybody
awesome.
who came. I think, is that right or no?
Yeah, everybody that came applied. Now we had
Why
a lot of
wouldn't you?
people.
You know?
Right, you were there. Yeah.
We had a lot of people that come in that already had work permits. We had a couple of people that came in that were looking to relocate.
Yep.
That were already working in cannabis in other cities in Mississippi. So it was a really big draw. It was really good.
I think that's a great thing for you. You know, people can say whatever about Jackson, but you're the Tri-County areas, you know, regardless of in Jackson or Madison or whatever.
Sure.
I think that's going to be a draw for people in rural parts of the state that want to come and be in the Tri-County area. That gives you a step, a notch in your belt that some of these
Sure.
others aren't going to have, because I mean, you got Rankin, Madison, Jackson, you got Fondren, and all the stuff to do around here. I think that's going to be a big plus for you from a recruiting standpoint.
Oh yeah, no, we're centrally located. We're great. You know, we're in a great location. I agree with you 100%. And I love that we've had people. You know, and that's not just at the job fair. So we had a couple people at the job fair who want to relocate, but we've had people, you know, also just respond to job postings that live honestly live out of the state. I mean, we've had people from Las Vegas, we've had people from Illinois, we've had people from all over the country. I mean, not a ton, but some that say, "Hey, I'm a Mississippian. I moved away. I'd love to come back and work in this industry." So we've got people coming back to Mississippi.
I had this exact conversation with my buddy Jason that owns Lakeland Glass and Tint yesterday. Mm-hmm. We were talking about something about Mississippi. If you're from here, we're talking about how people leave and it just never fails. They come back.
Right.
And maybe, especially if they lived 15, 20 years here, you know, through their teens or so, it never fails. They had to leave for work, college, whatever, stayed gone. They always tend to find their way back home. Something about the state calls you back.
Yeah.
And it's cool that there's an industry now that you don't have to move away from here to do. You know, so the people that did, now there's that opportunity to come back home.
100%. And you're right. Mississippi is home. I mean, even when you move away, and maybe it's that way for everybody in every state. I don't know.
I said the same thing. Maybe it is, but I'm from here.
but that's right. That's right. So my heart is, you know, Mississippians. You know, that's where my heart lives. My heart lives here. And I've always lived here, so I don't know, you know, but still I can't, and I probably always will. I mean, frankly, let's be real.
Yeah. I made it to 45 without really moving off for an extended amount of time. Y'all are stuck with me.
Yeah, 100% too. So with me too. But yeah, I think we're in a great location. I love the fact that we've got people who are used to live here who want to come back and work with Kelly's Green. I love the fact that at our job event on Saturday, we had people coming from all over the state that said, "Hey, I want to work in this industry, want to be back in this area." That's great. So yeah, we were super excited, super pumped, and I just wanted to put that out there again, that once again, we're at the forefront. We were the first to do this. I feel like it was a big success. Do you feel like it was successful?
Huge success.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, like I said, a couple technical difficulties. So, we had a bottleneck or two at times, just because of the technical aspect of it.
Wi-Fi and
right, you name it. And on top, when you get to the actual portal. I think that sounds funny. When you get to the place where you actually on the website apply, you know, it slows down considerably. Like, you know, you were going from table to table and, you know, filling out the job application and all that moves pretty quickly. And then when you get to the table where you actually go online and fill out the application, it's sort of bottlenecked. But we tackled it and brainstormed it and figured out a way around it and got through it. So it was fantastic. And
the portal's all online now, like on you set it like an iPad. And I went and bought a gun recently, and they've moved that form to an iPad. We've had so much talk about.
Thank you, Clay.
Yes, we've had so much talk about the guns and stuff and the licenses and this, that, and the other, that I went and experienced it firsthand the other day. But I noticed they've moved that whole thing to an iPad. You just boom, 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 boom. You know,
Interesting. Okay,
through
so
the
it's not a sheet of
process.
paper anymore, or at least where you went.
At
Is
least
it-
where I went.
Yeah, and so okay, well let's just go. Let's just go back to that for a second because people are like it's still a huge issue, or it's still a huge concern. I hope that we have been able to at least get the facts out there that while it is an issue of sorts, it is not the issue that people.
So
thought
people
it
can
was.
at least make an informed decision.
Right. That's right.
You know, they've
With
got all the facts on both sides.
That's right.
And they can make an informed decision without the boogeyman
Right.
of we're taking your gun stuff.
Right. Yeah. Nobody. Let me just reiterate that fact. No one is coming to take your guns because you have a medical marijuana card. Neither federal law nor state law have any basis for that. It is an untruth.
You know when they will take it? If you're riding around illegally with marijuana and your gun.
That is correct.
That's when they will take your gun.
That is when they will take your gun. 100%.
you.
And take you.
And
For a
take
long
you.
time.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Ask the two bad guys that were part of the police pursuit from Pearl the other night. They had a stolen gun and marijuana in the car. They took them and their guns. You know,
Yes.
Now, when they're not going to take it is if you have your medical marijuana card and your gun.
That's right.
But if you have illegal marijuana and your gun, guess what?
100%. And then it has nothing to do with your medical marijuana card.
No. And I like to bring that point up because people act like the other option is this grand idea, is this great idea, well, I'll just continue to ride around with my marijuana and my gun, but I don't have a medical marijuana card. This seems like super, super easy
Right.
decision to me.
Right. 100%. And that's a big one. And then I had the impairment conversation with someone. I can't remember who it was with, but again, it was this, how does the card impact, a DUI? And I was like, well, it's the same. If you're impaired, you're impaired. There's nothing in the bill.
It's not a breathalyzer, but they still do the field sobriety.
100%. I mean, like if you can't, you shouldn't be, you can't, it's illegal to drive impaired. And I don't care what has impaired you, whether it's alcohol, whether it's prescription drugs, whether it's, over the counter cough medicine can impair you. I mean, impairment is impairment. And so, if you're driving impaired under the influence of marijuana and you're impaired, well, that's still impairment.
Yes, it's driving under the influence, not driving under alcohol.
Right. That's right.
It's influence of whatever the impairment that caused the impairment.
100%. So that now I know that and we had Andre Degree on here previously, that the Mississippi State Public Defender, and we talked a little bit about that and just about the criminal aspects of that, and maybe where there's some gray and I get it. I get where that may initially seem sort of gray, but it's still very cut and dry in my mind. Impairment is impairment. That doesn't affect, you don't, just because you have a medical marijuana card doesn't mean you get to, use your medical marijuana, become impaired, and get in your car and drive. That's not allowed.
And I think I use this respectfully. I think that a lot of people are responsible, especially people who go through the effort to get the medical marijuana card for actual medical purposes.
Right.
I think are going to be responsible. They're clearly showing they want to be a responsible user.
Right.
By
That's
going
right.
to get the card and to get it the proper way versus through a street pharmacist.
Right. 100%.
So I think they've shown good decision making.
Did you just say a street pharmacist?
I did.
I like that.
I like that. I like that, Clay.
Well, I grew up in South Jackson. We got all kind of slang terms. Like, let's take a break real quick. Come back with Kelly's Greens and Kelly's Green. I'm always trying
That's
to make
okay.
it plural.
That's okay.
I'm from the South. We make
It's
things
all right.
plural. It's Kroger's.
We'll take it all.
Not
Yeah.
Kroger. I mean, it's not just you I do this to, I promise. All right, we'll be right back on 103.9 WYAB.
Awesome.
To Grow Your Know with Kelly's Green. We have Kelly Williams in the studio, and this is Clay Edwards. I'm going to pass the mic over to Kelly and her guest, John. Here you go.
Thanks, Clay.
Thanks, Clay.
Welcome back. So we've got some interesting stuff to talk about today. But before we do that, I wanted to mention yesterday I had the opportunity to do a podcast that man, it was so much fun. It's the Bourbon and Business podcast, and yeah, I said Bourbon and Business, you guys. So it's the hosts are Tyler. I'm sorry, Tyler, if I've messed up this pronunciation of your name. Tyler Wiltshire, Dakota Tate, and Adam Horlock. Again, the name of the podcast is Bourbon and Business, and it was super fun and super interesting. Of course, it's always fun to talk about Kelly's Green, and we also talked about going back, sort of back in the day, if you will, where with my legal practice and sort of how I got here in that journey, and that was fun. But it's also fun because like I think every episode they like pick out a bottle of bourbon and
That's
test
my
it.
kind of podcast.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. So like at the beginning, I think they taste it and they taste it again and at the end and give it a real assessment.
Sure.
And so they've done some great bottles, and I think they've done some bottles that were probably pretty expensive, but they've also done some bottles that were really it seemed to be a high. I think so anyway. I only did one podcast, so let me clarify that.
What were you guys drinking yesterday?
I can't remember.
It's a good podcast.
Yeah, it went great. I can't even remember what we were talking about. I'm just kidding. First of all, I did not. I am not a bourbon connoisseur, so I don't even drink, and so I really wouldn't be the one. It's probably none of it's probably going to be smooth for me, but but they did, and I can't remember what it was, but I think it comes out on. I think my episode comes out on May the 25th. And you can, the Bourbon and Business podcast is available everywhere that you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia, and of course on all socials, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. But give it a listen. It was fun, and I loved the idea of the Bourbon and Business, even though I don't drink, but whatever, it was tons of fun. And if you like bourbon and you like business, or if you like one or the other, take a listen. So super fun on that. But wanted to mention those, give a shout out to those guys because it was a lot of fun. So but moving on, I always want to mention before we get to our topic, we're going to talk a little bit about some fun stuff in a second. But before we get there, I just always want to remind everybody, if you haven't gotten your medical marijuana card, go get it. Now's the time.
Get one today.
Get one today.
It'll change your life.
Yeah, hey, man, absolutely. Like, mitigating suffering. Well, this is 2023. People, we should mitigate suffering any way we can.
Absolutely.
It won't be for everybody, and that's okay, too. Mm-hmm. But it'll be for a lot of people, and people should have people shouldn't wait. We now have it. Lots of people fought really hard for a long time to get this here for Mississippians, and now we've got it. So go get your card. We've got over 200. I want to say, a couple weeks ago when Chad was here, we were talking about the numbers, and I can't remember. I want to say it was about 230 physicians and nurse practitioners or certifiers across the state who are able to certify. And and we've got dispensaries open across the state.
It's 21 qualifying conditions for the medicinal card in Mississippi?
Yep, 21 debilitating conditions. And there is a route, there's a channel to add a debilitating condition if you go to your physician and your physician feels like that you don't have one of the current debilitating conditions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But you do have something that they feel like medical marijuana may be beneficial for.
Sure.
You can go to the Department of Health and ask them there's a process for asking them to add that debilitating condition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Really great job by the legislature there to do that, to give people the opportunity to use medicinal marijuana where it can be beneficial,
Right.
So that we can grow the program and continue to mitigate suffering and let people do what works for them.
And and I think that's the key to it. And I've seen it in a lot of states across the U.S. People have been managing their pain or managing certain conditions with cannabis for years and years and
forever.
Years and years. Since before they could even call it managing symptoms or
right.
managing a sickness.
Right.
Back then they were just getting high with no,
right.
there was nothing else there. But with the medicinal programs that are opening up in the distant states, you're seeing opioid uses go down.
Yep.
Astronomically.
Yep.
They go down. Addiction to other pharmaceuticals go down.
Yep.
And people are able to manage these problems with a natural form.
Right.
And something that's not damaging or addictive.
Right.
That might bleed their bank accounts or their souls.
Yeah, or their souls.
That's kind of how
That's
I feel
huge.
about opioids, really.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Opioids are one of those classifications, one of those drug types that can really take a person's soul. And
absolutely. And then to add to the problem, you have then you have a government sort of shutdown on the use. The government comes in and says, "Hey, we've got a problem here. We're going to cut everybody off." Well, oh my gosh, you've just sent everybody to their I'm going to use Clay's words, to their street pharmacist.
Yep.
to try to fill that gap. You can't just stop it. You can't,
Now
so
with the fentanyl crisis
Oh,
and everything
man.
that those street pharmacists may be doing with these products, I mean, we're seeing it all over the world now.
all over the world. That's right.
And there's better ways to do it.
100%.
There
There's
are
better
better
ways.
ways to manage this.
Yes, and so we're going to talk about a little bit about why. I should have gotten to this earlier because we're running out of time and we got some good stuff to talk about. I want everybody. So there's a misconception out there. I'm going to use that word misconception,
Okay.
And you tell me if it's the wrong word.
Sure.
But I think there's a misconception out there that the entire effect that people get from medical marijuana or any cannabis for that matter is entirely based on THC. True or false? Is that a misconception?
Absolutely false. 100% false.
Right. False that it's a
that it's the
It's
that
a
the
misconception.
THC is
Yeah.
the only thing that matters. And yeah, I mean THC was the psychoactive compound that was found in cannabis that really caused the high, that really caused people to potentially get too high, get too
Sure.
intoxicated. And those things have been synthesized and tested, and you can buy THC isolate on the market, and plenty of people are using it for pain management, some anxiety, some things like that.
Sure.
But when you really get down into the meat and potatoes of the plant, the cannabis plant produces hundreds and hundreds of terpenes. And when I say terpenes,
Yeah, let's talk about what is a terpene.
Yeah, terpene is essentially it's a compound that creates a smell.
Right,
or a
the
flavor.
aroma.
Yeah,
Right.
It creates the aroma, the smell, and even the flavor. And the mixture of those compounds in the different strains of cannabis
Mm-hmm.
create different effects and can have different healing properties.
So it's not just the terpene effects, like how it smells and has
Absolutely
no other
not.
implication.
Absolutely not. So if you think about, using lavender or dabbing lavender oil behind your ears,
Mm-hmm.
people have been doing this for years, and it causes a calming effect.
Right.
Just the smell. Well, that terpene that does that is called linalool.
Okay.
And it's heavy in the lavender plant, and it can be found in a lot of indica dominant
Okay.
cannabis plants.
All right.
These types of terpenes can help with sleep, relaxation. They can help calm your anxiety, and these are the terpenes, like I said, are heavily found in the indica dominant plants.
Yep.
And I say indica dominant because there are no real true indicas and
sativas anymore, right.
They've
They're all hybrids.
They've all been blended. They've all been turned. You find a mixture of these terpenes in all of these plants, and it's really hard to lock them in and focus on them for a medicinal part. So you really have to make your lists,
Right.
do your practice, make sure you know what you're ingesting, and pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we got to take a break. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back, and we're going to continue talking about why THC doesn't matter perhaps as much as everybody thinks it does. This is Grow Your Know. We'll be right back.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome back into Grow Your Know with Kelly's Greens, Clay Edwards, and I'm going to pass the mic to my friend Kelly and her guest John.
Thank you, Clay. Welcome back. We're talking about some, I mean, I'm a little nerdy and I think that's okay.
Me too.
We're talking about some super interesting stuff. Today, we are talking about why THC may not matter as much as you think it does. And I would definitely say that it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. So, and we were talking a little bit about that before the break. And one of the reasons, so John, you pointed out, you made a great point that there was a time in history that I think people believed that the entire effect of cannabis on someone was due only to the levels of THC in that particular strain, and we now know that that's not true.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. We now know that that's not true. And we now know or at least, I won't say so much, but we now know about the endocannabinoid system, right? Mm-hmm. So and my disclaimer is, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor. But we do know that there's an endocannabinoid system that has receptors that work with cannabis, that work with all of the.
And this is present in just about every living creature on this planet, except for a handful.
Okay.
Very small ones. Actually, it might only be honeybees.
Interesting.
But just about every living creature on this planet has an endocannabinoid system built with receptors that are designed to ingest and handle these products. It's essentially, it could have been part of our food pyramid at some point if somebody had chosen.
Interesting.
But for some reason, it was demonized and pushed aside and, labeled as dangerous.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, and I will say that I'm a big fan of. I know I've said this before, and people probably get tired of hearing it, but I'll say it anyway. Chasing the Scream is a great read. It's an easy read. You don't even have to. It's broken into essentially two big. The first part of the book is an accurate historical account of the war on drugs, and obviously includes cannabis in that. The second part of the book focuses more on some anecdotal stories and things like that, and how drugs have impacted some people. It follows some individuals through their journey with addiction and drug use, and sees how it has affected them and their families, and that sort of thing. But it has a great historical account of the war on drugs and cannabis. If you're interested at all, it's an easy read. And it's been fact checked, so it's great information for anybody that's interested. You may be like, I don't care, and that's okay too. Again? It's called Chasing the Scream. It's Johan Hari.
Okay.
And it's a super easy read. And like I said, if it's not all for you, that's okay, because it easily breaks into pieces. Like if you just wanted to read part of it, you could read part of it and not read the second half. Or if you just wanted to read about what other countries, how they have how they have attacked their drug problems, and what's been successful and what hasn't been successful. So, I look at drug addiction as a health problem, not as a criminal problem. I've always been I won't even say always, but that I'll go back to my practicing law days. Based on my experience there, I just and my life experience at this point in my life. To me, drug addiction is a health problem. It's not we shouldn't treat it as a criminal problem. I understand that at some point you don't get a pass on every crime just because you have an addiction.
Sure. And
that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about at its very core treating addiction as a health issue, sure, and not a criminal issue. So. But yes, so but let's go back, because I know I can go down a rabbit hole in a heartbeat, and I want to make sure that we cover this. So when we talk about THC, and I think you mentioned terpenes as well, mm-hmm, and so there's all of these parts of the cannabis plant, and they work together. Right?
Absolutely.
Is that right? And I'm going to say this word. So I'm learning so much as the last 2 years, obviously. I've always been a huge fan of cannabis, obviously, or I wouldn't be where I am. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that we now have studies and all of these things that that we can now really look to for great, solid information. And one of the words that I've learned over the past couple of years that I love is entourage, the entourage effect. So what is the entourage effect?
In its core, it's the way the cannabinoids and the terpenes work together. And I'm sure anybody can recognize, you walk into a place by yourself, you get one effect, and you walk in with a team. Yeah. That's the entourage.
That's the entourage.
That's the entourage. Everybody looks at you a little bit differently. But the key to the cannabis entourage effect is again, like I said, the mixture of the THC, the other cannabinoids, the terpenes. All of these things have an effect on this medicine and have an effect on the user of these medicines. Before the break, we talked a little bit about indica-dominant terpenes. We talked about linalool. Your indica-dominant strains, your broadleaf strains, which is what the industry is starting to evolve to.
Is small leaves and broad? Is it just small?
Thin leaf and broadleaf.
Okay, thin leaf. Yeah.
Because that's just the base characteristics of those plants. There are no true indicas anymore. There are no true sativas. But your stronger indica-dominant plants are going to produce broadleaves. They're going to produce usually a large amount of myrcene, caryophyllene, humulene, even some limonene. These are all terpenes that can, that have more sedating and calming effects on the human body. That coupled with the THC and other cannabinoids that are present in the plant. And we might be able to talk about those another day, but there are other cannabinoids that are known to have, huge health benefits for their users. Indicas, broadleafs, they're good for anxiety. They're good for stress relief. They're good to help you sleep. They're good to help you calm down. The sativas are the thin leaf strains. I think the most famous is Durban poison. They originated in Central Asia. Terpinolene, alpha-pinene, D-limonene. These are all strong, thin leaf or sativa-based terpenes that can elevate your mood, can help with energy production, and can help with depression. These are the ones that kind of bring you back up. It wasn't long ago that THCV, which is another form of the THC compound, was brought into light and was really shared amongst the medicinal community because it has weight loss properties. It can actually subdue your appetite and help people with those properties. And that's completely outside the box for anybody thinking about marijuana use or cannabis use. You just think that it makes you hungry, it gives you the munchies, and whatever. But now there's people actually using these compounds to, lose weight. And fight obesity.
Sure. So really the big takeaway, obviously, is that THC matters, but not the way that people think it matters.
Correct.
It works with all of these other properties for whatever effect it's going to have on a person.
I almost think of THC as like the activator. I almost think of CBD as the activator for THC at low levels. If too much CBD, it completely just nullifies THC. But I like to think of them as activators for the others. With the little psychoactive compound that is THC, these other terpenes and these other compounds can have a greater effect. On the patient. Well, first off, I want to say, I meant to say this at the beginning of the segment, but and I'll just say it now. Number one, we're not doctors and we're not making medical claims. Absolutely not. No. I'm a long-term patient speaking from my own use, my own knowledge.
That's right. So, and we know that people are using it for these things. I always want to make sure that we cover ourselves there and that we're very clear about what we're talking about. But I think that's fantastic. And the other thing about that is in the legal market, in the medicinal market that we have, all of our plants get tested. All of our product gets tested.
And these terpene profiles go on the label.
That's right.
And, the legacy market is always going to be active. It's, it's always going to operate, and people are going to choose to go to that side. But, with genetics and growth and grows the way that they are, when you buy a Durban poison on the street, it could have been crossed with many other things, and it might have a completely different compound profile than a medicinal Durban poison.
That's right. So, and I think this is huge. So when you've got, so we've got the testing and we know that in Mississippi, the testing will be, we'll test for all those terpenes, in addition to testing for heavy metals and toxins and all of the bad things. We also test for the good stuff, right?
Yep.
We have all of these levels, and so this will be able to be seen by the consumer.
Absolutely.
And you make a great. So you use the term legacy market.
Legacy market.
So
yes.
For people who don't know, so that's a relatively new term, I think. I could be wrong on that. But for people who don't know what the legacy market is, it's the black market. It's the illegal market, right?
It's the illegal market.
Right. So it's so we've got the legacy market,
The
or
street pharmacists.
The street pharmacists. There we go. And I think the big takeaway too on this is, it's obvious, but I think it bears mentioning, is that with the street pharmacists who operate in the legacy market, I'm using all my new terms today.
Right.
You don't know what you're getting.
No.
You don't know what you're getting, and not only is it sort of, you'll never be able to figure out, is this right for me? Is it good for me? And if you found something that was good for you, you'd never be able to repeat it. But the more important, they can't be reproduced.
That's a great point. About never being able to repeat it.
You can never repeat it if you found something. The more important one, obviously, is the safety factor. We've got people ODing on fentanyl. You just don't know what you're getting in a legacy market, and I cannot for me, that is just huge. Like, if you're buying on the legacy market from a street pharmacist, you don't know what you're getting. And so it's not safe, first and foremost. And second, again, if you did find something that worked for you, you could never reproduce it. They're not giving you a label. You're not getting a label from your street pharmacist.
You just know it felt good.
You just got to hope you find the same little Pookie again on the corner that you got it from, and that he got it from the same guy the previous time.
That's right. Really
dangerous.
So, yeah. So I think that THC, while it's important, I think the survey says, or the conclusion is that THC is a property and it's important, but there's a misconception that it's the only thing that matters. And in fact, it really only matters to the extent that the other properties work with it. Correct? Would you say that's a correct statement?
Yeah.
And that, and somebody would say, oh, well, you guys are, and we're going to grow all levels. We're growing all levels from low to high. So for us, it's everything. But I think the key is education, people educating themselves about medical marijuana. And I think that's important to know from an educational standpoint. I think we have to take a break.
Yep.
Is that right? All right. So this is Kelly Williams. I'm here with my friend John Enders and, of course, Clay Edwards on the Grow Your Know, and we'll be right back.
All right. All right, welcome back in to Grow Your Know as we land the plane today. I'm going to pass the mic back to my friend, Miss Kelly Williams.
Thank you, Clay. So I think we've had a great show today. I think the takeaway is that in cannabis, it's the properties that work together, not just the THC level, right?
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. 100%.
And that people should educate themselves when go get your card. Now's the time. And that you should educate yourselves. And the people in the dispensaries should be able to help educate you and help you figure out what's best for you. There's also all kinds of information websites. You can always find us at www.kellysgreen.org, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and all of our social media platforms. You can also visit 3MA, which is the Mississippi Medical Marijuana Association. They have lots of great information as well. And then you can also visit, Mississippi Cannabis Patients Alliance. I can't forget them. They are there for the patients,
Great
and
tool.
they are, they're great. They have lots of great information. So always, there's tons of great information out there. Thank you for listening today. This is Grow Your Know, and we'll catch you next week.
Great.